Okay, welcome back, guys. We're gonna go and continue with our Login.js, which we didn't finish from the last episode. So, if you remember, I gave you kind of a little challenge if you're reading the articles, and that's that there's an issue with the code in our Login.js, and I was wondering if you could find it. But if you couldn't, today's tutorial is going to be all about finding it. So, if you look at here, we have this fonts and constants. Well, that works fine for Expo version 32, but for Expo version 33, we actually need to do something different. And the thing is, we need to do something like this. We need to add in the import stars font from Expo font and import constants from Expo constants. That's just because they ripped out the packages from Expo, so we don't really need this anymore. So let's get rid of that. That's done. Now you're going to notice that we have a little render method here. I just went ahead and wrote that out for you guys. So I want you to pause the video now and copy this down if you don't have this code, which you don't. So just pause the video and come back when you've had the code down. So we talked about AppLoading in the last video, and here's what it really does. When we just arrive at the screen and it's not loaded yet, we need to grab the fonts. This is what this function does, and we first initialize the state as false. So if the state is not ready, that means if state is not ready, then we would keep on loading this until this is done, and it'll set is ready is true, and not true is false. So once this is set to true, then we'll get out of that AppLoading component, and we'll move down to our return function, which is what we actually want to show to our user. Now you notice here that we're using this constants that we imported from Expo constant. Now what does that do? Well, Constants.statusBarHeight pretty much gives us the height of the status bar, where the battery life, the Wi-Fi, the time is held. So we need to incorporate the height of that status bar when we're coding our screen. So this would put the status bar and our screen right on top of each other. So you can see here that this is some just normal styling. That's actually how we style. Remember the double bracket? Difference between the styling here and the styling here is because here we're actually using a style sheet that we've defined in Login.styles.js, which is over here. We define loginMarginTop as margin top with 20. I don't know if that's pixels or not, but it just gives us some spacing between all the other elements that use it or components that use it. So you can see that our email, our password fields uses it, our login button uses it, and if you don't use that, then you could just go right ahead and just put in the margin top in double curly brackets. So with that said, now let's look at this item component and the button component. So they're part of native base. Remember that we imported them from native base. And if you go to native base, you're wondering what this regular keywords is all about. So if I go over to native base here and I go to, let's see, where do I find that? So that is an item. So let's see, form and inputs. So if I go to regular, this is how that box will look like, the design. If I switch over to code here, then it's exactly how we written it, item regular. So that would give us this design. So we don't have to do any of the work. Native base does that for us. And similarly, for the button, we have block and transparent. So if we go to button and we go to block, then this is how it will look like. And if we go to code, then that's how we'll code it. And that's how we coded it in our project. So our login button will utilize one of these button designs. And that's basically it for this video. Just try to keep it short. Also remember that we imported font, that we still have the submit function, which will submit our form with our email and password to actually log in the user. So with that said, we're going to do that in the next video.